of them didn't read it. They just took Walter Jones's word for it. And I think one of the big pushes on 28pages.org is that it's mandatory that when you tell people and you write letters to them, that you tell them, please read it, so that you know what you're talking about. Right. At least just the 28 pages. If you don't want to read the 835 pages of it, then just read the 28 pages. That in itself, it's going to change the fear factor. It's going to change the way they think. It's not just going to be one of those things they just agree with.
That's completely right. I mean, I want to dovetail on that. This has got to be. This is not the end of the end of the struggle. This is a step in the right direction. It's a potential opening of the door.
Is there anybody who's read it that we know of that hasn't signed it? Do we know who has read it?
That's a very good question. I am not aware of anyone.
I don't think so.
I can totally see people who have read it, or and have said no way, Jose,
okay, well,
and not admitting that they've read it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, Mike. I'm glad that's what you could see.
Because it's secret, right? Because the whole thing is secret. So there's no transparency in terms of who's read what.
The only people that are going down there so far, and there are not many more that have signed it. I don't know how many more, but not many more. In fact, the last figure I saw was 25.
Is there a record
some of them have been denied too.
Well, Ellen Grayson was for a while. I think Grayson finally got in.
Because of the Snowden thing. That was Grayson's whole thing. They didn't want him to read it. But I just think he's an extremely aggressive person, and he probably would have got some stuff done. So I think that they just wanted to put him in the dark on that.
Some people, they tell them they're not. But
I don't know whether Grayson is still in the dark. Excuse me. I don't know whether Grayson is still in the dark. But Grayson is a co-signer.
Yeah, he's not in the dark. That's not what I meant.
Okay, well, he's a co-signer. Grayson's one of the co-signers.
What about Clinton? Has she read it?
Hillary Clinton?
No, she's no longer.
Well,
she co-signed, but who knows if she read it?
She wrote a letter. She wrote a letter. She was signatory on a letter in 2003, urging Bush to release the 28 pages.
I mean,
did she read? There is no indication thereof.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
There is no indication thereof.
Yeah, some of them just sign off because they trust the congressman or senator.
It's only 28 pages, it's not 280. I mean,
You need a frontline champion. I mean, very soon Rand Paul will drop out of the campaign, and when he does, he's going to be kind of pissed. He'll be angry. It may be that this is something he could take up, keeps him in the limelight, and fits into his his style and his mission. But he'll no longer have the political restraints that he has on him now. And that would be something good. Maybe that'll happen. Someone should put that bug in his ear.
I happen to think that's a fantasy.
It's Ron Paul would take
yes, Rand Paul. In fact, Rand Paul's broken very bad just in the last few weeks. I mean, coming out against the Iran agreement, I mean, it's inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. I mean, for somebody who understands, why we have no business intervening, among other reasons, because it's genocide. I mean, understands it's not like beyond him. Do something like that. It's totally unacceptable.
I don't think he trusts the administration. I'll just say that because.
All right. Well, maybe he will champion this further. I would bet on it. Okay.
He didn't trust Obama in Libya. He has no reason to trust Obama right now.
All right. Let's not get off on that, please. I think this does require at this point, and is an invitation to folks who realize how far out of whack things are and how dangerous they are, to cooperate with these intrepid members of Congress in opening the door somewhat on just really what a terrible power structure we have, and how that explains all of what we're seeing.
Barry, just to underscore your point, a little factoid that I think is accurate, but nobody can read it into the record like Gravel did. And the reason is they don't have it.
That's exactly
they
right.
have to go into a secret room, and they're forbidden.
Well, that's true.
U.S. senators are forbidden to take a pencil and paper.
And that's why they're forbidden.
Yes.
Precisely why they're
forbidden.
forbidden.
Well, no, wait a second, hold it.
And they can't take in any aids with photographic memories.
I mean,
so they cannot read anything into the record like Gravel did.
Okay, you're absolutely right. They cannot read into the record. But what they can do very easily is to go down there, digest it, and come back up and say what's in it. And they know that too, and that point was made. So that's how that works. By the way, in case anybody cares, I mean, there is another procedure, congressional procedure, that applies only to declassification. And I'm not going to go through the protocol in its detail, but basically the way it works is the Intelligence Committee by itself can declassify. All by itself, the Intelligence Committee can declassify. It's interesting. I don't think that's going to happen. Probably not. Go ahead.
How's the international press treating this? Is it getting any attention? Is this getting any attention?
Let me think about that for a second, because I'm trying to think what foreign press I've been paying attention to on this. You know, what's that?
I haven't seen much, and I'm watching it all.
I mean, the Daily Mail does something.
Yeah.
RT does something. You know, for that matter, I mean, let me give you this example, because I was talking about it yesterday on the radio. Alex Jones, of course, thankfully, I say thankfully, is quite radical on this. I mean, absolutely, in all this. He's got a show. I wrote it down in my notes. He's got a show. He entitled it "The 28 Pages That Could Change the World."
But wait, maybe we could go.
Alex Jones.
We could ask write to international press to make them have more attention on it. That could maybe shine the spotlight from outside.
A press release.
Yeah, something like that.
I must say, Deanna, that sounds like a wonderful idea. But please, I mean, if you please run with that. I mean,
right, yeah.
if we're not doing anything else in this this August cell, you know, let's strategize and you know, and go about, you know, acting on this, you know, as best we can. I mean, I got to say, I mean, I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to be speaking to you folks. I've been one thing that that kind of works for me is that when I get a task like to come here and talk about this, by golly, it's time for me to study the living daylights out of it and to be active with it. It's my time to be active with it. So just last week, if I didn't mention it already, I get to sit across my congressman one-on-one and say, you got to support this damn thing. You know, I mean, it was, and I was ready to explain it to him, and I was ready to hand him a copy of my press conference appearance. All right, and I just got an email 2 days ago saying we've moved it to our legislative section at the Hill. I mean, of course, right? Yeah. So get it. Yeah. So that's it. That's what we're trying to do here. It's necessary, and it's desperate, and it's you know the forces that we're up against. I mean we've got to expose them before we can kind of confront them. But we got to get on with this. We got to get on with this. They know no limits. They know no limits. I mean, if people don't understand what I'm talking about when I say they go from false flag in Damascus, Syria, to a coup d'etat in Kiev, in the underbelly of Russia, I mean, okay, and yes, we have some respite. We've got this Obama fellow who's been carrying on neocon policies nonstop, you know, backing off just a little bit on Iran, backing off a little bit on Ukraine. How many people think that we're going to have any kind of alternative to a warmonger in the next presidential election? And make no mistake what warmonger means. It's neocon. Look, Cheney's got, I know the guy that worked on it. Cheney's got is 8 stories down in Annapolis.
He's got what?
He's got like a living room, and he's outfitted something 8 stories in the ground.
He's still on the seashore.
And this is the thing, and you were talking about how Damascus, see, all you have to do is listen to the rhetoric, and it happens. Like they say it happens. It's not the other way around. And so he keeps threatening. Now he's slithered out from under a rock, and he's saying, "Oh, Iran and you know, another 9/11." I mean, well, please explain. Tell us. I mean, you really have to listen to the rhetoric.
Yeah, he literally said we're due for another 9/11.
Yeah,
Who said that?
He's threatening.
He's been saying that since September 11, 2001.
But he finally went on CNN.
He's
and
really
just
threatening. No, this is like
if
you do the Iran deal, this is what you're going to
exactly
get.
right.
Basically,
He's a classic broken record. He has said this every chance he has gotten on television. Anytime there's going to be a bomb that go off, you know, in a container,
folks,
in a port. I mean, this guy has totally lost all.
Let's just zero in. Could we zero in on one thing? Just zero in on this for a moment. Everybody probably knows it already, but let's just zero in on it just for one moment. Norman Mineta, Secretary of Transportation, in front of the 9/11 Commission, testifies under oath. Cheney is sitting in the Situation Room at 9:20 in the morning. He's giving orders. He's telling an aide that comes back and forth. Yes, the orders still stand, as the aide looks at him in bafflement. And the next thing that happens after Cheney is told that the plane is only 10 miles out is we have the Pentagon on fire. It's a stand-down order. And then in order to cover it up, Cheney pretends that he wasn't in the Situation Room at all, that he didn't get there until 10 in the morning. The only problem is that he told Tim Russert 5 days after 9/11 that that's exactly where he was. And do you know the 9/11 Commission reports that he didn't get to the Situation Room until 10 a.m.?
And
Come
they
on, folks.
ignore the Minetta.
They completely ignore it. It's not even in the
No, it's not a
record.
video.
Come on now, folks. Look, Cheney, I mean, we've got a lot of criminals involved, and he's just one of them. And he's pivotal in this operation. Of course he is. Of course he is, while Bush is reading The Pet Goat. I mean, of course. Look, I said it in my handout, and I'm sorry, I didn't have time in preparation. But if you ever don't have anything else to do with 2 hours, go to YouTube, because there's a free version of Michael Moore's Fahrenheit 451. And it's a little bit like going back to this Big Bamboozle and realizing they're talking about the same thing. Michael Moore, in what was it, 2003? This is what he does. He puts Bandar on the Truman balcony at the White House on the evening of September 13, and they're smoking cigars. Now let me look, American citizens, go ahead, okay? That's in your face. That's a mutual congratulation. That's what that is. A mutual congratulation. That's what that is in broad daylight. And by the way, the photo that I have, I think I sent it to you, Andrew. It's not just Bandar and Bush on the Truman balcony, the longtime friend of the Bush family. You've got Rice sitting there in a nice, comfortable chair, and you got Cheney sitting in the other one. Oh, no, wait a second now. Nobody says it, okay? But I want to hear somebody say, oh, well, Bush was bamboozled. I want to hear somebody say it. Thank you.
Bush was a pawn? Is it the same way?
No, he's, no.
A dumb participant?
I mean, these are Confederates smoking cigars in celebration of it, of the beginning of the global war on terror. I mean, there it is. Michael Moore is on it. I mean, he's on it. I mean, I've talked to his close relative, who he views as a mentor. I know he does. And she told me he can't go any further. He can't go any further. Of course not. Of course they do. Of course they do. Something that slipped out of Walter Jones' mouth. I can find it in my notes. He's talking about the necessity of telling the truth. And he lets it slip out. He says, of 9/11 or of the assassination. Actually came out of Walter Jones' mouth.
Assassinations of Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King,
Well, Paul Wellstone. If you want to bring it up to date a little bit. I mean, come on.
So he said there's something that relates to the assassinations.
It was just in passing. He's saying we need to know the truth. The future of the republic depends on it. We're talking about 9/11. Then he says, or the assassinations, or the assassinations. I mean, it's just an awareness that, yes. I mean, of course, people are getting killed over power in this country. It's happening all the time. Of course, it is. This guy didn't all of a sudden. Wayne went to talk to the neighbors. I mean, he was taking his kids to school every day. I mean, come on.
Gary Webb was another guy who's trying to find the truth, doing a very good job of it, and the cocaine.
I mean, he lays it out.
And he's found dead. Two shots to the head?
2 shots to the head.
Yeah.
Suicide.
Suicide, of course.
Now, Paul, you're a smart guy. You know how guns work. 2 shots to the head. Suicide.
Yes.
There. I'm talking about yes.
It happens.
Yes. Now, Gary Webb, what did Gary Webb expose? Gary Webb exposed, right? You know what he exposed, don't you? Right? Gary Webb is the San Jose journalist who exposes the CIA through the Contras, is basically commencing the crack epidemic of Los Angeles, and then a bunch of other countries. That's what a bunch of other cities. That's what Gary Webb establishes.
And now we have a heroin epidemic from Afghanistan.
Well spoken.
And he was forced out of his journalism job. He may have actually killed himself, but people are being forced out of his journalism jobs all the time if they take up this stuff.
Yeah.
So is that, I mean, shall we conclude? Are there any other questions, or is there anything else you want me to?
Can I just say one thing? The other thing too that we didn't mention about these 28 pages is that if they are released, this allows the victims' families to pursue, and I think according to Les Jameson, we're over 3,000 lawsuits against the Saudis, and without those 28 pages, they cannot proceed because those 28 pages hold the key evidence for them to collect on.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. I mean, and so let me just mention, to the extent that everybody gets involved in kind of, trying to make this legislation get passed, it is literally called, you might even mention it yourself already, the Transparency for Victims' Families Act. Okay, so yes, one of the ways this is being, shall we say, sold is that these families deserve justice, and yes, they are in court now. It's in one case, it's not 3,000 cases. It's one case. It's in a district court in New York. It's being heard as we speak. There's big arguments. I mean, check it out. You want to talk about that suit? Check this out. You can leave if you want. I mean, I understand. No. But check this out. The Obama administration, just like the Bush administration before it, goes into court in the case from the 9/11 victims' families against the Saudi Arabian government, and argues for the Saudi Arabian government on the grounds of sovereign immunity, both Bush administration and Obama administration. Okay, be very, very clear what you're looking at there. Be very, very clear. Okay, you know what the Saudi regime is, and now recognize we are completely in league with them. We are working together.
Yes.
Yeah, and may I just return to my point before? That is why I think the administration, actually, haven't they said this publicly, that they are not, they do not feel it's a good time to release the pages because Saudi Arabia is on the front lines in the war against
No,
ISIS.
this is precisely the status.
No, I thought I heard or
Well,
read
let me tell you exactly what happened.
Okay.
Obama, on two separate documented occasions, promised family members of 9/11 victims he would release the 28 pages. Two different families. Bill Doyle is one of them. Bill Doyle now refers to Obama as a liar. Okay. A year ago, more than a year ago, a little more than a year ago, Obama finally agreed. Came up with this. I'm going to give this over to the Director of National Intelligence, just for him to determine, whether or not there's stuff in here and blah, blah, blah. And as the point is made by one of the commentators recently, this ODNI office of the Director of National Intelligence, is taking more time figuring out whether there's anything, national security like in the 28 pages than all of the time that was spent on investigating and doing the report.
It's one of the disadvantages of having 2-year election campaigns. I say disadvantage, it's an advantage to them. It gives them that built-in internal political reason to never do anything because you can't risk the political prospects. And when they get the election campaign to 4 years, then they never have to do anything because it's all politically necessary to withhold.
Okay, so let me say, because it's very good that you make that point. Look, if we continue to order things strictly around political calculation, this cannot go on much longer. Come on, folks. You know it can't. There are limits. The weapons in play are unbelievable, and false flag is a fact. It won't take much of a false flag to set the whole thing on fire. Now, what we have to tap into desperately, and I submit it's the theme of my talk this evening, that we have to have faith. We have to act as if these Congress people pushing this legislation, at least most of them, right, are not doing this on the basis of political calculation. They are doing this on the basis of what they're supposed to be doing.
Nice change.
Okay? As